Hello, I'm Christine Haynes. I'm a pattern maker, author, and sewing teacher from Los Angeles, California. And today I'm going to teach you how to make corded piping. So this is my cotton cording. I prefer to use a cotton instead of a synthetic. But the downside of that is that the ends here, you can sort of see, they tend to unravel. So before we actually start working with it, we're going to put a little bit of tape there so that it can't unravel beyond that point. So we're going to tape that end. Doesn't have to be perfect, it's just to keep it from going beyond. And then I'm going to measure out the piping, the cording, to be a little bit longer than the piece that I'm using. So you can see on this end it's going to go beyond, and then I'm going to make sure that it looks just like that on the other side. So now that we have the cording and we have the bias strip, we need to sew this together. What we're essentially doing is wrapping the cording inside the bias piece itself. We want to stitch as close to the cording as possible so that this part stays nice and tight and it just becomes like regular piping, and this becomes what is going to be sewn into the seam allowance. First, I need to pin it in place. So we're going to pin the layers together to keep the cording in place. We're simply going to fold it over and line up the raw edges and pin through all of the layers. I like to pin close to the cording to sort of keep it tight and secure. And because I'm going to be sewing with the cording on my left, I like the head of the pin facing me. So you're just sort of sandwiching it in there and keeping the cording in the center. So I'm lining up the edges first, pushing the cording to the center, and pinning it in place. So we're pinned all the way here, and now we're going to sew. And I have switched to my regular zipper foot so that I can stitch closely to my piping, or to my cording. I'm going to use a regular stitch length for this, so 2.5. And I like to back stitch this part just to make sure that it's not going to come unraveled while I'm working with it. This can be a little bit tricky. I like to hold the cord as I'm working with it just to support it as it starts to go through, because a zipper foot doesn't have a lot of support to the left because it's going to only be that little skinny bit to the right. So I'm going to hold with my left hand the actual cord as it comes out, and then hold a little bit taut with my right hand as it goes through the machine. And you can see here on the stitch that it's right up against the cording, so it makes it really nice and tight. And that's what we're after. So here's the actual piping then, all made up. You can see the stitch right up against the cording, and it's all ready to get pinned and inserted into the waistband. We use piping in my new pattern, the Sylvie dress. If you'd like to sew along with me, check out my class on CreativeLive.